I'm the primary sponsor.
So, in a nutshell, what does it do?
In a nutshell, what it does is it reduces the tax markup on alcohol from 88% to 30%. And it essentially makes the state a wholesaler rather than a retailer. And what that will do, what that will require is that the state will have to sell all the liquor stores to 8 of them. And my idea is that they already have 2 warehouse stores. They have one in Park City and they have one in Salt Lake City. My idea is to have a repurposed one in St. George, the one in Moab, the one in Ogden, the one in Provo, and the one in Logan to warehouse stores to accommodate the immediate demands of the public. And there's a few efficiencies that could come along with that with the DABS, what it's called now. But basically, they could reduce the amount of inventory that they have, which would reduce the cost of liquor. And then they could also, instead of everything just being shipped into a central location and shipped out to the warehouses, they could order products and have it shipped directly to those warehouses rather than come through here. And that would alleviate a lot of driving and carbon monoxide and so on and so forth. And then I also created a license called a direct shipping wholesaler license. And the direct shipping wholesaler license would allow companies like E&J Gallo or Constellation or even small wineries or distilleries across the country. They could get a license as long as their labels are approved federally. And they could direct ship into retail accounts here, which would be the bars and the restaurants, and also the people that buy the liquor stores, and the package agencies, by the way. A lot of people don't know what package agencies are, but it would allow them to ship it directly into them and then remit 30% to the state. Now, there's a couple of licenses in the state too. There's a transport license and there's a warehousing license. By utilizing those licenses a little bit more, so someone in St. George could potentially get a warehouse license, then you could have delivery people, so you're creating jobs, and these direct shipping wholesalers can send their products into those warehouses and have them expedited to the licensees. There's federal and state laws when it comes to shipping alcohol, and so from the point it leaves their warehouse, they have to ensure that it's going to get to the final destination untouched and not open. So I don't see that as being a problem whatsoever, whether they're shipping to the state or whether they're shipping to a warehouse licensee. Their responsibilities are bound by law. I can tell you a little bit about package agencies.
I mean, I know what package agencies are, but is this essentially privatization of alcohol?
It's not total privatization. It's actually, during my job, I was a wine broker. I call it a wine broker. A lot of people call it an industry representative. And I did that for about 17 and a half years. And prior to that, I spent 20 years in the restaurant industry here in Salt Lake City. I figured I had all this knowledge about how to construct this initiative, so I decided I would try. And I left my position a couple of years ago because I just basically got fed up with dealing with what was then called the DABC, and I wrote this book called Mormons, Merlot, and the Utah Liquor Monopoly. And a lot of people like it, some people don't, but I mean, that's just life. But I spent the last year and a half, I figured, well, it's one thing to actually complain about it, and it's one thing to actually try and do something. So I decided to write the initiative.
So is it abolish the DABS then?
No,
Okay.
They'll still be there. It's actually, I had Wyoming as a territory.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that Wyoming is a control state.
It is.
In fact, in my opinion, they're the best control state because they are the least amount of government influence in the affairs there. They have a central warehouse in Cheyenne, much like we do here with the DABS, and they warehouse a certain amount of products that licensees across the state can buy. And when they place an order, it'll be there over the next 1 or 2 days, depending on where they live in the state. They also are able to buy direct from people like Gallo and Constellation and distilleries and so on and so forth, which makes it a better control environment.
It's also private liquor sales versus state-controlled liquor sales, which here we have state-run stores or contract stores, and then, but there you have, I mean, multiple liquor stores in a community based upon consumer demand.
Right, and so the licensing, I'm not sure how they base the licensing on consumer demand, but I know all the licenses are private there, and the state stays out of that business, and I think that's why a lot of people drive 80 miles an hour to Evanston to pick up products.
Evanston's big business
Yeah,
with alcohol.
It is big, and it's, and since the speed limits changed, people are going fast as they can to get there, and they're going to Wendover to Lee's Liquor and down to Mesquite. And my initiative basically tries to people are still going to do that, but basically eliminate that, significantly eliminate that, because they won't have to do that. And
so are you proposing basically privately run liquor stores or liquor store sales in grocery convenience stores, things like that? Right now, it's only beer up to 5% ABV, but are you proposing to lift so you can get wine and spirits and beer, heavy beer, in grocery convenience stores or in privately run markets?
I am proposing that because it's already happening, and it's happening in package agencies. And package agencies, some are operated by the state, but most of them are in convenience stores, and they're in drug stores, and they're in little tiny stores across the state. Whether you go to Delta, I was just at the Dutch John in Flaming Gorge, and they have right behind the counter a display of some wine and some liquor. And there's people and families walking around. They didn't care. They didn't even look at it. So to me, it's like it's okay here, but it's not okay here. It's that thing that I have a problem with. It's like, why should we have it any different? I mean, the people in Utah basically want what we have in all the states around us. We want to be able to go into Costco. We want to be able to go into Trader Joe's. And so what my initiative does with the package agency licenses, it lowers the quota by 2,000. So right now there's 18,000 quota. So that means for every 18,000 people, there's one package agency. And I did in my initiative say they would bring 58 new licenses, but really what the quota sets right now is basically 181. So it's not that many more licenses for package agencies, less independent liquor stores, so people that buy the liquor stores from the state at auction. There'll be less of those, but more package agencies. This will allow Costco or Trader Joe's to essentially get a package agency license and bring their products in. And whether they clear it through the state or they have a direct shipping wholesaler bring it to them, they'll be able to buy it at that 30% markup and then retail it. Right now, if you go into the Costco in downtown Salt Lake City, they have a little section that's walled off for tobacco. Mm-hmm. And I essentially can see the same thing happening with liquor and beer and wine in that same area.
So you would still maintain the separation, like no one under a certain age is allowed in the premises of
So the way I designed it is there's a separate ingress and a separate egress to these areas, whether it's Trader Joe's or whether it's a grocery store like Harmon's. And it would be monitored depending on how big this section is by a person or people, and restocked accordingly to make sure that no one under the age is in there that shouldn't be in there unless they're accompanied by their legal guardian. Not every grocery store is going to qualify for a package agency license. Not every Costco is going to qualify for a package agency license. For instance, the Costco down by Murray High School, they don't carry tobacco because they're right across the street from Murray High School and right by the hospital. They probably won't qualify for a liquor license, but some of the other Costco's will. Maybe Sam's Club, maybe Walmart. It also depends on proximity to other licensees, and that's something that the Liquor Commission would have to look at. They would go, okay, well, we would grant this license to Harmon's, but how many other, liquor stores or package agencies are close by? And they would have to look at that on a per store basis, and then go accordingly and base it on the population and the needs of the communities. And there should be these in other counties in the rural areas.
But what I do see is this obviously freeing up a lot more privately run liquor stores throughout the state, because you're changing the quota, the availability of those package agency licenses by sort of broadly distributing it.
Right. Right now, under the current quotas, you get about 181 package agencies and about 61 liquor stores. We're at 51 or 52 liquor stores. I saw one open up in Sandy yesterday. It looks nice. And then if you add those two together, and then you take my quotas, it's only essentially 15 more licenses. And it's really all about the quota of balancing the liquor store quota and the package agency quota to make it a better fit for what's going on in Utah. But the real benefit to a 30% markup is it frees up $164 million flowing back into the restaurants and the bars and the package agencies and the potential private liquor stores that sell and retail liquor and beer and wine. And that's the way it should be, and that's the way Wyoming's designed, and it's a competitive market. And I know that one of the reasons they always say here is that with a set cost, then you don't have that competition, and there's no real incentive for a sales rep like I used to be to drive sales and to park products. Well, there's actually federal laws against that. You can't do that. So it's.
What I thought was interesting is you do away with the mandated cost plus 88% markup, and you rework the formula. Explain how that works, because that's a lot of tax law changes. And one thing the legislature up here says is the reason for state-run liquor sales is so that they don't have to raise taxes, because it covers things like public safety, school lunch fund, and most importantly, the state's general fund.
I understand that, and I know that the state should make some money off of alcohol. I don't believe that they should make all the money. But what I did in formulating my plan was I raised the percentage on the school lunch program, I raised the percentage on the public safety program, and I raised the percentage on the underage drinking program. And so basically it's $1 million more spent towards those three items, and I didn't want to take anything away from those. And their fiscal analysis says that they're going to have a shortfall of $120 million to the general fund. But when you add in the 30% remitted by direct shipping wholesalers, I anticipate that if 25% in the first year of the liquor and wine that's being sold in the state brought in is sold by direct shipping wholesalers, then it's going to be $75 million profit to the state. If it goes up to as much as 40%, then they eclipse what they're saying they're going to be negative right now. So it goes up to $124 million.
You're essentially saying the free market will make up the gap.
Yeah, and the reason why I believe in that system is because I was an industry representative. I know what these people are capable of, I know what the suppliers are capable of, and I know that they all want to have their products here. Right now they face numerous hurdles getting products into the state. Sometimes you can have the best product in the world, but you can't get it here. And I think a lot of people are frustrated with that. They go to, we have an international airport, and they fly all over the country and all over the world, and they see products that we don't have, and they wonder why we can't. And
that's why people go to Evanston.
That's exactly
people go
right.
to Landover.
And they go to Twin Falls to Costco, and they go to the Costco in Vegas. And I got to tell you, when they go to those places, they're not buying one or two bottles. They're buying a whole trunkload, and they're bringing it back. I really believe that people in the private sector that are working for these liquor stores can be trained correctly, and I have that in their licensing, that they have to go through state training and keep up on it. And there's no reason why those people can't do it the same as the people that are in our liquor stores, monitoring and managing the products.
I read the initiative, but I may have missed this, or it escapes my mind at the moment. What happens to the existing state-run liquor stores, the 52?
The existing state-run liquor stores, if you go to the very back of the initiative, It will tell you there's a chapter on what's going to happen with the liquor stores. Essentially, they're going to be sold off at auction. And if people want to go down to the DABS or wherever they're going to have the auction and bid on a liquor store, they can, and they can buy one. If someone wants to just buy the liquor store and own the land and have someone else get the licensing, they can do that too. That's the way I've designed it.
Okay.
And if they want to buy the shelving and infrastructure and the stuff that's inside of it, and if they want to buy even the liquor after they get a license, they can do that. If they don't want to buy it, then it goes back to the state and they can wholesale it from there. I also repealed the wine club that they have right now, where people can belong to wine clubs and have it sent to
the state, but you have to do the cost plus 88%.
Right.
I mean, it is a wine club, but it's essentially a wine club in legislation only, and the practical aspects of it are very difficult.
Practical aspects of a wine club is when someone goes to a winery in California, let's say, and they taste some of the wines there. There are wines there that only can be bought at that winery.
And they offer to ship it to your home, but you can't do that here.
And they don't have the UPC code on it. So, and that's one of the reasons why they're only offered at a winery. And the wine clubs are a big money generator for the wineries, and they sell out of their products every single year. So when you become a member of a You can get so many packages a year from them. You can set it up however you want, whether it's 1 case, 2 cases, or 4 cases, or you want to belong to 4 different wine clubs. But they're essentially charging retail for those bottles, and they're charging a premium to ship in the packaging to get it to the person.
So would I get direct to consumer shipped to my home?
Yes.
Under your initiative?
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll be able to sign up for with the DABS as a consumer, and then wineries can get a wine club license, and I think it was $50, which is what Wyoming is, and they can ship directly to the consumer and remit 12% tax to the state.
Washington privatized its liquor sales through I believe it was a citizen ballot initiative as well.
Right.
Costco jumped on board and bankrolled that. So did Sam's Club. You know, we saw that. Do you anticipate you would have similar support from distributors? You know, I'm thinking InBev, I'm thinking Costco, those types, to jump on board, because they've certainly threatened the legislature every now and then with a ballot initiative.
The people that consume alcohol and the people that sell alcohol in the state are one of the top 5 special interest groups in the state. But yet we're continually being told, no, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have that. And you could only go during certain hours from 11 to 7. You know, I live downtown, and if I want a nice bottle of wine, I've got to drive several miles to go find it after 7 o'clock. And that's not right. I really feel like it's a good initiative. I think a lot of people will benefit from this. I think the state's still going to benefit from this. And I think that getting government control out of it and saving the $44 million is a significant boost to the state. Why not save the money? You know, I think there's a couple of the primary principles for the Republican Party is small government and business, espouse business. So why do we continue to charge 88% to liquors and bars and restaurants? I don't understand why we do that. You know, it makes no sense to me. A lot of them are builders. What if they had to pay retail for their lumber or their sheetrock? I mean, it just that money between retail and wholesale went to the state. It's just good business.
Let's talk about opposition, though, because obviously there's a big entity downtown that these positions on alcohol are very well documented.
I agree with that. I understand that.
So do you anticipate an uphill battle, especially since they have been known to involve themselves in political issues like this because they view it as a moral issue?
Well, they certainly are going to voice their stance on this. I don't have a problem with that. I actually grew up LDS, and I just in my teens decided it wasn't for me. I mean, most of my family still are practicing LDS, the LDS religion, and we get along just great. They don't care what I do, and I don't care what they do, and we're respectful of each other, and I don't see that as a problem.
No, but do you anticipate it being a hurdle for a successful ballot initiative because the church is going to weigh in?
Of course it's going to be a hurdle, but I think that there's a lot of people that don't drink alcohol that just don't really care. I think that some of them find it appalling that they charge businesses 88% to stay afloat, especially when you look back at the financial crisis in 2007 and COVID, now we have inflation. I mean, it's hard enough to operate a restaurant on the margins and the bars that they do, and essentially we're doing nothing for them. So I'm very passionate about that side of the initiative.
Do you anticipate social conservatives also mounting a campaign? I know, especially when it comes to alcohol legislation here on Capitol Hill, they tend to weigh in a lot.
Look, I'm not here to tell people that I know that people have problems with alcohol. I know that there's a segment of the population that has problems with monitoring what they do, and that goes for drugs, it goes for all kinds of things, whether it's texting and driving or whatever. But I'm not here to argue or be a proponent of people drinking alcohol. I'm just saying we don't want to buy it in state-run liquor stores anymore, and I believe that the businesses that sell it should profit from it, handsomely. And that's all.
What about the legislature? Because as we've seen with cannabis, Medicaid, redistricting, things like that, the legislature has, and they've argued that they have the right to modify the citizen ballot initiative. If you are successful, you may also still have to deal with the legislature. Does that concern you, or do you feel like what you proposed is enough to appease them?
I don't know that anything's going to ever appease them because they're always worried about some particular segment and how it's going to affect things. And I do understand that, but all I can do is go down the road and get us to the ballot and try to. And that's my goal. My goal is to do the public hearings this fall. I'm hoping some people across the state will see this, that our companies out in the state, or even wineries, distilleries, or whoever, want to get behind this and help fund this, because I can't do it all myself. I have a website. I use my pen name, Spartacus Falangina. It's spartacusphalangina.com.
Do you? So you are planning to, obviously you've cleared the first hurdle, which is you've got the fiscal impact statement, you've submitted the initiative. So when can people anticipate, if they want to learn more about with the public hearings and then ultimately signature gathering?
So my plan is to hopefully start doing the public hearings at the end of August. My first one I'm thinking would be in Logan. My next one would be in Jerome, and then I would go from there. But like I said, I need to get some funding in place. I have some people. I haven't. I'm contributing funds from the sale of books and apparel on my website, but I haven't contributed to a PIC. I haven't got a bank account to do a PIC, which is the money for the public initiative, and I haven't established that yet because I haven't taken any in. I haven't made a donation from my company. And as soon as I see some people that show some interest and they want to do that, I'll establish the PIC and we'll go forward. But I feel like it's something that needs to be addressed and it needs to be done, and I think it's time. It's on December 5th, we'll have 90 years since Prohibition, and I think that it's a little too late for us to wait any longer. And I hope that one of the I actually, when I turned in the initiative, I just wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see if I could write it. I'm not a lawyer. I just got down and did the work, and I reread it and read it over, and I made the changes, and they made changes, and over a 2-year span. And then I decided, well, if I don't turn it in, I'm going to get to my grave, and I'm going to be very unhappy. So I decided to turn it in, and just go from there and see what happens. But it got accepted. And
you cleared the first hurdle
already. Which tells me that people that I did it right, and then I just want to follow the rules that they've established on their initiative process and go down that road and try to get this completed and give the voters of Utah a chance to just say yay or nay. I don't see anything wrong with that, and whether it's passed or it fails, we'll get to that point and find out. But I'm not worried about the changes or modifications afterwards. You got to get one step at a time, and you got to get to that point first.
So stay tuned for the public hearings, and then obviously signature gathering starts. Are you planning to hire signature gatherers? Are you planning to do volunteers? The mix of both? I know it becomes critical for a lot of these citizen campaigns.
I think we'll do a mix of both. I think there's a lot of people out there passionate like me, and I think a lot of people will dedicate their time to help. I think that paying people isn't a problem either, as long as I get funding in place. Especially in the rural areas, they can generate a little bit of money into those areas, and I'm excited to get out and meet the package agencies around the state and the people that are in those corners and those little counties, because I enjoy Utah. I love it.
What do you feel like was leading you up to this? You mentioned, you've worked in alcohol policy, you've been subject to alcohol policy.
Right.
So was there any kind of a particular moment for you that said, this is why we need a ballot initiative?
I've thought that for years, but and even when I was in the restaurant business, it just baffled me about the tax. And I think that frustrates a lot of restaurateurs and bar owners and the hotels and corporations that come here. But even then, when I got in to be a wine and liquor industry representative, I learned a lot more about it. I was subject to, I had Wyoming as a territory, so I had to learn about their liquor laws. Our company was based out of Washington at the time, so I had to learn a little bit about their laws because I spent a little time up there with some reps. I just think that it's time to address this and just see what the public wants. Like, why can't, if they want to just bypass all this stuff and put it on the ballot for this fall, the special election, hey, I'd be fine with that too. Let's just avoid all this stuff. But I get that there's a process, and we'll go through that, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
Anything you'd like to add? Anything that I missed?
if people want to go to look at the initiative and see how it impacts them, they can go to the vote.utah.gov website, go to other resources for voters, and then go under initiative and referenda, and you'll find it's called the Citizens Initiative to amend and modify Title 32B Alcoholic Beverage Control Act. If you would like to go to my website and see it, and I should have thought about this name a little clearer, but it's Spartacus Phalangina, and there's some symbolicism behind that name. Spartacus is a rebel, and everybody's Spartacus that's rebelling, wants change. And Phalangina is a grape that grows in Italy, in Campania, and it grows in tight tightly formed clusters to form a shield to protect the rest of the cluster. So it's kind of a symbolic name to go along with what I did here. The reason why I wore this hat today is because I have a friend that we play golf with. His name's Matt Schwobe. He's going through some hard times right now, so I want to cheer him up.